Hi, we're in volume 10 of the Bible story by Arthur S Maxwell. This is the last of the books, last of the 10 book set. And I am at, or we are at, part 2, story 9, Bonfire in Ephesus. Okay? When someone bears a bold witness for Jesus, you may be sure it won't it would be long before Satan seizes a counterattack. So it was in Ephesus. Paul witnesses uh, Paul's witnesses there were greatly blessed. Hundreds accept Jesus. When they did so, they threw all their idols and gave up all their worldly possessions on which they once had wasted their time and money. The Bible says that a number of those who practiced magical arts brought their books together and burned them in sight of all. And they counted the value of them and found it came to 50,000 pieces of silver. A lot. So the word of the Lord grew and prevailed mightily. Okay, a lot of people are saying that the library at Alexandria messed up things, but this sounds like it messed up a lot of things for the magic world anyway, because they got the magical world got their books and burnt them. Okay, let's get back to the story. What a bonfire fire that must have been. Seeing his own books burned was more than the devil could take. So he moved upon a man named Demetrius to cause trouble for Paul and the new Christians. This man was a silversmith whose chief source of income came from making silver shrines of Diana, or Artemis, the famous goddess of Ephesus. So he made statues of Diana. That's the lady with the bow and arrow and the stag. And Artemis, same thing, bows and arrows and a stag. That's what I remember. That she had and then she was the goddess, and the silver represented the moon. Um, so that's what I remember. Because I go and research a lot of stuff. Okay, let's get back to the story. Gradually, it dawned on him that if Paul's teaching spread much further, there wouldn't be anybody left to buy his little silver shrines or idols. So he called a meeting of his fellow silversmiths and said to them, "Men, you know that from this business we have our wealth. And you see and hear that not only at Ephesus, but almost throughout all Asia, this Paul has persuaded and turned away a considerable company of people, saying that gods made with hands are not gods. And there is a danger, not only that this trade of ours may come into dispute, but also that the temple of the great goddess Artemis or Diana may count for nothing, and that she may even be deposed for her from her magnificence she whom all Asia and the world worship. So, in other words, this moon cult was getting really upset about it, especially around there. But eventually, it turned into crosses and fish and stuff like that, other stuff. But that's just history in my head going, and let me get back to the story. Okay, Demetrius put a lot of fire into his speech, and by the time he finished, his friends were stirred up. Great is Diana of the Ephesians, he cried. Great is Artemis of the Ephesians. Pretty soon, they were running through the city, shouting the same slogan until the whole city was filled with confusion. Grabbing two of Paul's companions, they rushed with them into the great open-air theater. So they grabbed two of Paul's companions and they rushed it in. This illustration right here is the magicians burning their magic stuff. And there it is. That's what illustration looks like of burning the magic. Okay? And so they're grabbing two of Paul's companion. They rushed with them into the great open air theater. Learning what happened, Paul wanted to go too, but his friends wouldn't let him, fearing that he might be torn to pieces. Meanwhile, the crowd continued to pour into the theater until it was packed to the topmost tier. But not all who came knew why the meeting was being called. Some therefore cried one thing and some another. For then for 2 hours they chanted in unison, Great is Diana of the Ephesians. When at last they grew tired of, the town clerk managed to get everybody quiet enough to listen to him. He spoke some flattering words about the great goddess Diana, then added a warning. We are in danger of being charged with rioting today, and there being no cause we can give to justify this this commotion. Slowly the people began to file out of the theater. When everybody had gone home and the uproar had ceased, Paul called the church members together and told them he thought it was time for him to leave. They were saddened by his words, but saw good reason in them. So he bade them farewell and set out for Macedonia and Greece. So he left again. And it has two illustrations before it also has uh, the next story. But there's two illustrations. You got all these people up here at the top, chanting, and then down at the bottom, you got Peter. Is it Peter? No, Paul on the boat going to Macedonia and Greece. So here's what it looks like. Together, and then of course up at the top right here, you got the men fussing, and then down at the bottom right here, you have Paul on the boat going to Mesopotamia and to Greece. Okay, and that is part 2, story 9. And I'm going to take the break it up, and then I'm going to start on the next story. See you in a minute.